Ronaldo is almost 40 years old, with the average age of retirement for football being 42 to 43. It won't be long until he's no longer lacing up his boots. With over 20 years of professional football under his belt, trying to quantify how good a prime Cristiano Ronaldo is perhaps unlike analyzing any other player in history. His prime was so long, he also peaked in two different positions and played an unprecedented amount of games for his country. The stature of the man and his impact across the globe transcends football and will forever be intertwined within the debate of the greatest of all time with Lionel Messi. The question of if anyone will ever reach his level is being put to the test week in and week out across the league. Cristiano has inspired so many footballers and non-footballers alike in all walks of life. He continues to wow crowds and draw admiration for his athleticism and professionalism in the latter years of his career. But just how good was he in his prime? It all started on a little-known Portuguese island called Madeira, way out in the middle of the vast Atlantic Ocean. Life in the 100,000 population town of Funchal was a world away and dwarfed by the population of 10 million on the mainland. Just the chance a professional footballer can make it from there was already impressive, let alone Portugal's greatest ever. Never mind the world. It wasn't long until news of his town swept across the southern European peninsula like a tidal wave, and Sporting Lisbon snapped him up as soon as possible. Moving to the big city at that age could not have been a cakewalk. His accent and foreign nature would have put off a bunch of judgmental teenagers that he must have wanted to impress. These early challenges emboldened him to prove them wrong. He became early friends with Ricardo Quaresma, who was also considered different to the youth academy products, normally lucky enough to get a chance at Sporting. Quaresma was similar to Ronaldo in his position as foreigners, as Ricardo is of Roma gypsy descent. Working together to start convincing their peers together probably went a long way to push them past the other players at their level. As their friendship grew, that must have been coupled with the acceptance into the group, which would have helped them both massively at that age. The news of the potential of the two wingers spread across Europe in the late 90s, with more mystique being placed on Cristiano as the younger of the two. Ronaldo is 18 months younger than Quaresma, who started to run out for Sporting at the start of the 2001-2002 season before turning 18. His trickery matched Ronaldo, which must have bamboozled Portuguese youth football after a run of sub-appearances that got rave reviews. Ricardo's first start saw him bang a goal and 3 assists in a 4-0 win against Varza, which announced his arrival. This would have surely been a huge help for Cristiano, who saw there was a definitive pathway for the youngster, even though he may have had to share and swap wings with his friend to get minutes. That time would come at the start of the next season, where similarly, he smashed 2 goals past Morenets in his first start in the league. Quaresma played on the right wing in that game, so the stage was set for them to terrorize Portugal from then on. The pair often swapped wing mid-game, which was more popular back then. They were also both heavily influenced by the Nike Freestyle campaign at the time, which promoted isolation skills and tricks, especially from wingers. World-class Portuguese winger Luis Figo had just been crowned World Player of the Year for his performances at Real Madrid, which surely influenced Ronaldo's career massively. Figo was paired with such skillful talents as Zinedine Zidane and Ronaldinho of Brazil to promote Nike's new ultra-skill heavy direction for their new brand image at the turn of the century. All of this cacophony of skill and technique spread across the world, and saw Ronaldo and Quaresma heavily involved as soon as Nike could draw up contracts for the two wonder kids. This approach to the game dictated Cristiano's early style of play, which drew more and more eyes to his game over that opening season. Playing just 1,400 minutes in his first season, he managed to clock up 11 goal involvements. His time was limited in the second half of the season, as they struggled to unsettle rivals Benfica and FC Porto with a meager total of just 59 points. Sure, it was a rough year, but the future of the club and the nation looked rosy going into the summer of 2003. That preseason, Lisbon had booked a high-profile friendly match against the star-studded Premier League giants Manchester United, who were passing by Lisbon on their way back from a US tour. The plane ride back to Manchester after that mammoth summer road trip would go down in history after playing against a certain kid from Madeira. Manchester United had a mega squad as one of the richest clubs in the world. They were still rolling off their Champions League win in 1999 and added imperious goal-scoring talent Ruud van Nistelrooy to play ahead of an incredible midfield. Club youth product and legendary right winger David Beckham had just been sold to Real Madrid in July, so there was a spot open for someone to impress. Cristiano Ronaldo started for Sporting and immediately took off running at John O'Shea on the left wing. Involved in the first goal, he was a constant threat in the first half, adding flair to progressive carries that called for double teams from Nicky Butt to help out the struggling right back. He pulled the defense all over the pitch, drew fouls, and had the Portuguese commentators laughing at the sheer audacity he showed that night. The Manchester United players spoke so highly and aggressively of what they have just been victim of by the 18-year-old. They pushed manager Sir Alex Ferguson to sign him immediately while they were mid-fight. Apparently, Apparently, as soon as the plane landed back in Manchester, the iconic United manager was already lining up a bid of around €12.5 million. It took about a month to get the deal done, to the point that Cristiano would take the pitch at Old Trafford. Amazingly, he was handed David Beckham's number 7 shirt on arrival. Given his global reputation as a celebrity and star of England and United's recent success, these were not small shoes to fill, not to mention the echoes of the other remarkable number 7s at United, like Eric Cantona and George Best, whose game Cristiano mirrored. This was how highly Sir Alex thought of him. Cristiano came on to a standing ovation in the second half of the game against Bolton at Old Trafford. The late great George Best marked his debut as the single most exciting debut he had ever seen in world football. No bigger stage in world football could have been set. Ronaldo was far from his prime at this point. It took a while to get used to playing in the Premier League, where among other things, his flair and showboating was not taken too kindly. A turgid reputation of aggression and hurting players had still not left the highest level of British football at that time, and his skills rubbed opposing defenders the wrong way. Even his own teammates had a bit of that nastiness that spilled over toward Ronnie at times. Roy Keane would not hold back, destroying the youngster for not passing or running back after losing the ball, which were often connected. Van Nistelrooy was used to direct Beckham deliveries, so he probably suffered the most at first. The lack of rhythm and desire to prove himself led Cristiano to go into the bag of tricks randomly, which meant strikers especially had no idea when a delivery was coming. Arms waving and shoulder shrugs were the kinder ways Ronaldo was told his approach to the game was not going to fly, as United always were on track to win any trophy they played for. His first season in the league saw just 8 goal returns in 1,500 minutes, as they finished 3rd in the league for just the second time in a decade. Ronaldo's next season at United would not end much better, but that would be the last time a Ronaldo and Fergie team would finish lower than 2nd again. His performances statistically for the next 2 seasons were not hugely different from his first, but he did start to show more of a connection with his teammates, like Gary Neville, overlapping at the right back, Wayne Rooney in the central creative areas, and Ruud up front, who couldn't stop scoring. Not to mention, he also shared on-pitch wing duties with one of the all-time greats at Manchester United, Ryan Giggs. He surely passed on his mastery of the wide position he had demonstrated for over a decade. Ronaldo started to show that he could go both ways on the wing, as he was comfortable on both feet. His shot and free kick prowess had matured to bring fear into Premier League goalkeepers. All he had to do was just put it all together. The game that Manchester United fans remember as the breakout performance of Cristiano came in a closely fought away game against Fulham. Ronaldo had been relentless all game, but the team was not clicking, and many started to fade in the second half. The drive and stamina to keep on pushing the ball down the throats of the Fulham team into the 88th minute finally saw a chance to open up for him down the left wing. He took the ball from the midfield line and dragged the opposition defense over to the left touchline before cutting in onto his right foot, leaving defenders in his wake. He smashed the ball with his laces down to the right-hand corner of the net in what seemed like inevitable fashion. Man United fans were in awe of how he pulled the team along that game, and many may mark that as when Cristiano entered his prime. The 2006-2007 season saw an incredible return in all competitions, recording 37 goal involvements, showed his dominance of the wing position, as not only did his goal scoring from the wing take a jump, but his constant supply line to the attack. His 5 assists were a big reason United reached the semi-final of the Champions League that year and laid the groundwork for years to come in that competition. Notably, too, Ronaldo clocked up 1,000 more minutes than the season before, which highlighted his other superpower, which had moved to new heights that season. His physicality was becoming overwhelming for opposition defenses all over the world, as his performances for Portugal started to take off as well at this time, reaching the final of the Euro 2004, only to lose to a stubborn Greece side, was followed up with a 3rd-place finish in the 2006 World Cup. This insane workload would have been too much for many superstar players, and only the very best athletes and professional mentalities can deal with such rigor on the body. Amazingly, this massive increase in professionalism and work rate in all areas came to the back of awful news for Cristiano, sandwiched in between those 2 huge tournaments for Portugal. His father passed away of liver failure in 2005 after battling PTSD-like symptoms for his time in the military. Ronaldo was still finding his feet in Manchester at the time and trying to mature as a man at just 20 years old. It is incredible to see what he managed to achieve during this time, and who knows how much of an impact that had on someone with the world at his feet. Despite the hardship, Cristiano went from strength to strength for club and country after these highly formative years in the early 2000s. He followed up his breakout 2006-2007 season with unwavering determination to win it all the next year. Ronaldo and United were unstoppable that season, unfortunately only falling early in the FA Cup as the only major setback. Cristiano went on to have an underwhelming Euro 2008 with Portugal, Portugal, but very little could take away from the fact that he contributed to 50 goals in Manchester United's double-winning league and Champions League haul. Needless to say, he was named as the Player of the Year in Europe, and he picked up his first Ballon d'Or for his efforts. The next and final season at Manchester United started off in slight controversy of the approach for transfer by Real Madrid. FIFA had to step in, and this was all ongoing while Ronaldo had to undergo preseason ankle surgery, which delayed and interrupted his preparation that year. Despite this, the Red Devils won the league again and reached the final of the Champions League in back-to-back seasons, only to be dismantled by Pep Guardiola's Barcelona in Rome. It was already on the cards that Ronaldo would be on his way to Real Madrid that summer, and he bowed out as one of Man United's greatest ever players, but he was just getting started. Ronaldo was on track for greatness after leaving his dream club in July 2009. Manchester United got a huge payout of close to 100 million euros for what turned out to be almost 10 years in Spain. It didn't all come on a plate for Cristiano, despite what his insane goal-scoring record might suggest. At the time, in La Liga, FC Barcelona and Leo Messi were on another planet in terms of team football. This meant it was almost impossible for one player to carry a team that was still rebuilding after the Galacticos era had come to an end. Real lost to Barcelona in the semifinals of the 2011 Champions League over 2 legs, while they also finished second to them in the league for back-to-back seasons after Ronnie's arrival. Cristiano played wide, with central attacking midfield geniuses like Mesut Ozil and Kaká controlling the team in the early days. They also preferred other players up front as a central striker back then, signing Karim Benzema the same summer as Ronaldo, but needing to give minutes to Gonzalo Higuain and Emmanuel Adebayor. The Portuguese marksman still showed insane feats of goal scoring from wide positions, despite not winning trophies for Madrid early on. The push for the end of the La Liga campaign in 2011 saw him grab 15 goal involvements in 4 games to finish the season scoring 11. Eventually, Ronaldo became the focus of the attack for Real, as other strikers took a back seat. His prime years saw absolute dominance in the Champions League, with nothing less than semi-final appearances in the 2010s. Adding Rafael Varane to Sergio Ramos at the back secured up the defense, and Luka Modric dictated play in the midfield from 2012 onward. They went on to make history as Real Madrid won the most coveted trophy in the club's soccer 3 times in a row for the first time in the competition's history. The highlights of Ronaldo's peak powers were seen in back-to-back hat-tricks versus Bayern Munich and an incredible Atletico Madrid defense at that time in 2017. The next season he scored in 10 straight games in the competition, amassing an incredible 15 goals and 3 assists in that run. This productivity saw him share striking duties with Benzema, making him more like a number 9 than the number 7 he inherited from his time at Manchester United. The physical dominance had replaced any remnants of Nike freestyle skills of his youth, whether it was soaring to record heights, leaping over standing defenders, or breaking sprint speed records. There was just no one in football that could stop him. The only competitor he had to greatness at his peak was Lionel Messi, who had been produced by the team he had stayed with throughout his prime years. Messi similarly started out wide, but moved infield in a way that mimicked Ronaldo, but he played in a system that he was a part of from an early age. Ronaldo had moved across 3 clubs in his formative years, and played with a random bunch of players, of who not all could match his ability. Real Madrid only contested Barcelona's level when guys of similar mentality to Cristiano were brought in to achieve his standards of consistency and physical output. The preparation for Ronaldo came from the outside, whereby Messi's preparation came from within the club, which protected him from distraction and adversity. Ronaldo in his prime will go down as the greatest goal scorer ever, maybe only with Brazilian legends of Pelé and Ronaldo Nazario coming close. Gert Muller and Marco van Basten are names that would put fear into defenders back in the day, while Zlatan Ibrahimovic can compare to Cristiano in terms of style, physical prowess, and professionalism over a decorated 20-year-plus career. There has just been no one like Cristiano. The combination of wing dynamism and wizardry, with the unwavering drive to score goals through the middle, was a lethal combination. He extended the range of danger whenever he picked up the ball on the pitch, given his ability to drive at defenses from any starting point. His verticality also posed an entire other level of questions for teams, as football had never seen an ability to so clearly outjump anyone who wasn't basketball or volleyball player. This meant he was a constant threat for defenders, pairing him with highly competitive players and runners to press the opposition when losing the ball in attack. Made up for his slight shortcomings as a player, his time at Real Madrid saw him eclipse games to goals with 450 scored in 438 games. While this was something never seen before over that amount of games in football history, he also tagged on 131 assists, so creativity was not an issue. In terms of individual awards. Ronaldo won 5 Ballon d'Ors throughout his prime years. The 2016-2017 wins came during the Champions League dominance as he passed 30 years of age with no signs of slowing down. Perhaps the most amazing thing is that he won them over a 9-year period of dominance, which outlined his sheer ferocity over a prime that spanned a decade. That has never been done before. Maradona had issues off the pitch, and Ronaldo Nazario had a career blighted by horrendous injuries. Of course, only Messi can compete with Cristiano in terms of individual awards, but he won 3 more to surpass Ronnie after he left Madrid for Juventus in the summer of 2018. If Ronaldo could have added a World Cup win to his bonkers 200-plus caps for Portugal, he would have taken 1 or 2 off the Argentinian. Surely staying at Real during his dominance would have changed the outcomes of those awards and extended his peak even further. If you enjoyed these in-depth breakdowns of global soccer topics, hit the like button at least. Jump in and subscribe too. It's free, and it takes time to put these things together. Much love for checking out our channel though, and we hope you enjoyed this breakdown. So, just how good was Ronaldo in his prime? It is sort of like saying, how good is pizza, or winning the lottery? Cristiano may have come into football at the perfect time, fueled by a Nike football campaign that showcased his ridiculous level of skill that gave rise to the world of techers today. In the age of YouTube that brought game highlights to the world and captured the imaginations of kids that never would have seen him play otherwise. From cameras fixed on his pose for free kicks to the Sue celebration copied by goal scorers worldwide, he appealed to the media of the day. He has become the highest earning sports person in global history while amassing the most amount of Instagram followers of any other single person. These things may not explain his prime from a football perspective, but they are results of what it means to be so dominant. The debate of who is better between Ronnie and Leo will only add to his greatness, as his influence will be indelibly etched onto football for all time. Despite my efforts, there are really no words for what he has achieved as a lad from Funchal. We were all just lucky to see it.